Good morning, or good afternoon, whenever you're reading this, or watching this, actually. So, happy snow day. Today is to review, very quickly, a couple key things that you read about last night with technology and the development of unions, particularly. Then I have one activity you're going to do, and then you guys can go outside and play in the snow, and build lots of snowmen and drive your parents crazy by creating a little snowman crossing like my favorite cartoon character did, Calvin, from the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes. He's got lots of little antics he gets up to during snow days, so if you know Calvin and Hobbes, or if you don't know, you can just Google Calvin and Hobbes snow day cartoons, and there's lots of fun ones to pick from. Alright, so let's get started. I just want to review a couple things. So this is a map of the United States about products being manufactured and natural resources that we see during the Era 6. You have petroleum or oil being produced out in Texas. You have gold deposits in particularly Colorado, Nevada, that's the Comstock lode, and Arizona, kind of where the Gadsden Purchase was, if you remember that. However, I should also point out the coal deposits in the Midwest and in West Virginia, Kentucky, designed to facilitate steel production, particularly the center of that would be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Alright, so throughout this entire time period, you see a movement to the cities. By 1900, 40% of Americans will live in cities compared to small towns or in rural areas. That number will change, so by 1920, that census shows that a majority of Americans, most of Americans, now live in cities, and the United States is now considered, after 1920, an urban country. This graph shows, however, just the population change that we see from 1870 to 1900. The biggest change being out in Seattle, a 21,000% increase in just 30 short years. That is obviously going to lead to problems in urban areas, pollution, crime, sanitation, but also in overcrowding of cities. Cities were not building housing fast enough to house all these people pouring into the cities each day. Don't forget, you also have immigrants coming in as well. And we called those livings tenement housing. And you're going to read more about this in chapter 18 when you read about the city. You guys already read about this. Low labor wages and conditions. Your time and pay. Let me just move this over here so you can actually read it. The average worker works about 60 hours a week, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And their conditions are very poor, things that we've already talked about, things that you should already know, but you'll be reading more about it in chapter 19. Don't forget child labor. They were obviously paid less, $6.65 a week. $6.65 a day, 27 cents an hour. Now we have minimum wage. There's a protection that's going to be created a little bit later on, not quite yet in American history. Let's look at that political cartoon up at the top. I'm going to move me back over here. Alright, so this political cartoon demonstrates an obvious sarcasm with the protectors of our industries being, you've got the robber barons, Vanderbilt's millions, Jay Gould's millions, Field's millions, staying safe from the seas by this wall. And under that wall, you have the workers holding it up, being crushed by the weight of that wall. The iron workers make $7 a week. Cloth workers average $9 a week. Lumber workers, $6 a week. So here we have quite a powerful message about who's really the protectors of our industries. Is it the developers, these capitalists, the captains of industry, or are they considered robber barons? That's for you to decide, and there's a question about that at the very end of your reading guide. You already read about this, the development of labor unions, the Knights of Labor led by Terence Powderly, and AFL led by Samuel Gompers. The Knights of Labor will decline after the Haymarket riot in Chicago. Samuel Gompers in the AFL is going to last a lot longer. They will turn eventually into the AFL-CIO. But notice in their tactics, they not only use strikes, even though Samuel Gompers does not like strikes, they also resort to lobbying. And this is where we see the development of unions starting to recognize the political power that they also have. And they're going to kind of latch themselves onto the Democratic Party. All right, this is just a map. Shows, I know the color is not great, so kind of this pale yellow is just nothing. In this pink area, however, you have counties reporting strikes between 1870 and 1900. The major strikes in yellow. Please make sure you watch the video about the Pullman strike. You need a little bit more context than what is just provided to you in AMSCO. You have the Homestead strike and the Haymarket riot as well. Last thing, innovation during this age. You guys read, and there was a whole list of some inventions that are being developed. Here's a couple more. The air brakes you read about. Jeans will be developed by Levi Strauss, still a very popular one. I do want to talk about barbed wire. Barbed wire in 1873, developed by Joseph Glidden, is really going to help finish out the settlement of the West. Because if you think about it, the Great Plains is just this massive grass. There's not a lot of trees. So barbed wire allowed people to build fences with a limited amount of wood. The barbed wire kept in the cattles because obviously barbed wire hurts if you go up near it. You don't want to go near it. Don't try it. But it does help the settlement of the West. So that is an important one to know, particularly in your connection to the ending of Native American life, if you were to have a question about that. There's also Tesla, who develops the Transformer. I'm not talking about the Autobots versus the Decepticons. This is a transformer with electricity. The X-ray, that's pretty cool as well. Oh, sorry. This graph is pretty cool. Shows the number of patents being issued, really to demonstrate the innovation and development that occurs during this entire time period. You have it nearly double in just 10 years, from 1860 to 1870, and then again to the ending of the 19th century to 221,000 patents being issued per year. Think about all the things that you have in your house. All of these things can really be traced back to this era of patents. Last thing, this is ending it up. It's not a really good place for it. Advertisements. With the increased amount of production, you're going to see a change in consumerism. The United States becomes a consumer society, and we still are today. So you have the development of ads. And here we have just a few ones. Here's an ad for Kellogg's Toasted Cornflakes. Maybe you had some for breakfast. Spearmint Gum. Fine for digestion, fine for teeth. Dr. Pepper. Look at that lady with her awesome little hat. She looks great. This one's my favorite, though. Have your little fairy in your home. Advertising fairy soap. A cute little child sitting on top of that fairy. Kind of cool. Don't forget Coca-Cola as well, and some little sweets over there. Alright, so today's activity is a worksheet on the impact of business on labor. This is an LEQ. I want to review the title with you, and you're doing an outline, not a full essay. I'm not going to make you write one today. Just a full, complete thesis, and then brainstorm evidence that you would have. So let's review that. Just zoom out here. Here we go. Again, directions. You should review your notes. There's extra information at the bottom. You have to have a complete thesis statement. The rest of it can just be outlines and evidence. The historical thinking skill is cause and effect. So let's read the prompt. Explain the impact of the late 19th century industrialization on labor. To what extent was labor successful in improving their working conditions during the Gilded Age? So, a couple of things. The cause is industrialization. How does it change the labor, and then how much was labor successful in improving their lives. Do they or do they not provide evidence for your position? Please make sure, remember, at the higher end, if you want to get a 5 or a 6 on an LEQ, 6 being the top score, you need to both address cause and effect. You can't just say it's cause, cause, cause. You have to have both of them. So think about balance. Parts, you can either type this up or write it out, whatever you want. Introduction, you need to have before your thesis, your contextualization. These are the big ideas for the whole era. Think about, the prologue to Star Wars to help you get started. You need your thesis statement. I gave you a reminder of what that looks like. And then you have your body paragraphs. Remember, your assertion or your mini thesis is the topic sentence of that paragraph. You should reassert your claim here and then provide evidence about 3 pieces to support your argument in body paragraph A or topic A that you want to discuss. Same thing for B and C. And finally, you have your conclusion. In your conclusion, you wrap up your ideas and you need to think about synthesis. This is connecting that example to a different time period. Think about when we talked about immigration political cartoons. Connecting immigration and the ideas about immigration with either a previous period or a after period. You can even go all the way up to modern times. But it has to be outside the era, so not between 1865 and 1898. Think before that or after that. You need to state what that is, but also explain why. Once you're done with that, you can email it to me. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can also use the Remind Chat feature if you need an immediate response. Also up on Twitter, but I will be periodically checking my emails today. I hope you have a safe and fun snow day. You can email this if you want, or you can just wait till we get back to class. We'll obviously go over it, and then we'll also talk about questions that you want to talk about at the end, whenever we get back to class, whenever that is. All right, see you guys.